Okay, so this is my review for episode 10 of The Punisher. This episode was called Virtue of the Vicious. These titles, man, these titles are hilarious. Okay, so obviously this episode is very different from what we've seen before. It's a non-linear storyline, which is something that we have not seen in Punisher yet, but it is a great way to keep things fresh. And man, I thought this episode was just a ton of fun. It sets up a really interesting narrative where we obviously know the end of what happens, but then we kind of get bits and pieces of the story as we go along, as we focus on other characters. You know, we first start out with one character, see their perspective, move on to the next, see their perspective, and with each person we get just another piece of the puzzle until we get Frank's perspective and we get the whole thing that comes together and creates this really cool narrative. I'm really impressed with how they did this because non-linear storytelling does not always work and it can be very risky. They do it in a way that I really enjoy and that feels, it feels right for the show at this point. Um, so this episode takes place during an assassination attempt of the senator that Russo is guarding. So Lewis is basically going after him and to sum everything up in one sentence, Frank knows about it, tells Russo to let Frank handle it. Russo decides to not let Frank handle it and to try and kill him. That's basically the whole episode. But the people that it involves and how they're all tied into this mess is just really cool. So first things first, Madani is there as well. So she's there to talk to, her boss or whoever this guy is. He's very connected to her. And so he basically tells her that the men that had attacked her team, they are all Anvil employees. So she's pissed. She's real upset, and so she goes to talk to Russo, and Russo basically says that he has no idea what any of that is about. Madani obviously is not stupid, so she doesn't completely buy everything that he's saying, and there's a seed of doubt that is planted in her mind against Russo. Now, at one point, Madani actually captures Frank. She shoots him in like the leg or the shoulder, and then we also get Russo, who comes in and he plays his hand a bit here because he will not let Frank go, and he, even after Madani says that Madani has him, drop your weapon, all this, he will not drop his weapon. He points it back at her. He plays his hand, and I think he's playing it way too early because now not only does Madani know that he's not a good guy, Frank knows that he's not a good guy, and there are some real serious implications to pissing off Frank Castle. So I think we'll see that coming to a head. Now we definitely know that Russo is evil and that everyone else knows it as well. I think that that was one of the things that was kind of left to get this endgame set up, so that's gone and out of the way. And it'll make it a lot easier for Madani and Frank to team up as allies because they both have a very personal relationship with Russo and now are betrayed by him. So they have that in common. So with Russo, we basically just see, the part that he has to play in this, setting it up so that he can try and trap Castle, and that's basically his whole purpose in this episode, other than playing his hand and showing that he's evil. Now, on top of Russo and Madani, Karen also shows up because of course she does. She's interviewing the senator before the attack happens. And they're both people that Lewis has threatened at this point. And so, when Lewis does come in to attack, the senator lies and says that Frank was there helping, but we see from Karen's perspective that Frank actually saved them. He jumped in front of them and took a bullet for them. He basically took out, all the he tried to save them in any case. They're both alive, so he did a good job. But we see from Karen's perspective that Frank was this whole time just trying to take down Lewis and protect Karen from harm. And at one point they get downstairs. Frank gets Karen away, and really cool. Like they're basically like motioning to each other, and Frank tells Karen with basically just his eyes and nods to cut one of the wires on a bomb that Lewis has and to disarm it And then, so she does that. She shoots him in the foot. That's how she gets away. It was really cool and like really cleverly done. That they're and it's good because it does show that there's a connection between them. But now that Lewis doesn't have her, they lock him in a freezer. I guess it would be a walk-in freezer, and he basically just blows himself up. So, like I said, Lewis is out of the way in episode 10. That's what I predicted. I didn't predict it the way that it happened, but I did think that he would kind of wrap his storyline up within the next episode. So I was correct. But, Frank is still in this place. He's surrounded by police, he's surrounded by Anvil employees, and he has to get out of this building. So, he uses Karen as a fake hostage to get away. And before he escapes, him and Karen share a very, it's a heartwarming scene. And gosh dang it, show writers and actors. I don't want to like Karen. I mean, she was one of my least favorite characters from, the Daredevil shows. I really did not enjoy her character in The Defenders. I just thought that she was completely useless. And in this show, she's just really good. It's pissing me off. Like, how dare you? So basically, what I'm saying is that the writing in this show is just unreal. It is so good. And the way that they do this dialogue and the way that they're developing these two characters together is just really nice. I'm really enjoying it. And they're not romantically involved at this point, but there's an obvious potential for a relationship. And I love that they didn't cross that bridge yet and that they're holding back some of that. It's not something that, has happened yet, but there's obviously a connection between the two. And I think that the way that they're writing this, they're giving Frank time to work through his emotions, but they're not rushing into this relationship that they're obviously setting up. I really appreciate that they're doing this and that they're doing it at a good pace and not just like, oh, 10 episodes in seems like a good time for them to kiss. Like, I really enjoy that they're taking this very slowly. This is just good writing. I mean, it's just good writing. And, with Frank himself, we basically just see that he is acting very selfless in this episode. He barely even touches anyone violently in this entire episode. He doesn't even, I don't think he kills anyone this whole episode. His entire purpose in this episode is to save people. And he does it by taking bullets for people. He does it by jumping in front of danger for Karen and for the senator that he doesn't even care about. This is someone who obviously is on the good side of things and has the right idea but doesn't always go about it the right way. And in this episode, Frank is very clear cut the hero of the story and not the anti-hero or the vigilante. He is outright the hero. But at the end of the day, we're not sure that he's going to be seen as the hero because he's still viewed as a terrorist. And that's so frustrating because he did everything right. And it's the senator's fault because he's lying. It's very frustrating. So, I mean, I really loved this episode. I loved that it took a chance by taking a non-linear storytelling route. I love the way that they fit all these pieces together to tell this narrative. I love that they're developing these characters in a way that is natural and slow-paced and very meaningful to who these characters are and what they've gone through in the past. I'm just in love with this episode. It is one of my favorites so far. Super cool. Well done. Really impressed. So why don't you let me know what you all thought of this episode in the comments. You can find my previous reviews of The Punisher in the playlist right on over there. You can also subscribe to my channel right on over there. And thanks for all for watching. I will see you all in the next one.